Welcome to the weekend. Happy Saturday, and welcome to the conclusion of our fourth week of Lent and our fourth week on our podcast series entitled Intentional. This is Father Mark, and as I have shared with you several times this week, I just want to say thank you to the place that you have given God this week in your life, and for the holy ground that we've been on, for the reverence with which we even mention secrets in our life or the things of our past. And so as a father, as a spiritual director, I just want to say it's been great being with you this week, and I'm proud of all of us for the courage that we have illustrated in giving God permission to go there inside of our hearts. Yesterday I talked about the difference between giving it to God versus God to give you permission to come in. And I mentioned that yesterday because it's important for us to know that in the places of our life where we are protecting ourselves, the places in our past that we've walled off that place of our heart, when we have secrets and we're not sharing them with God, we're living in isolation there, and healing is only going to come from communion. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the best self-help book, is not going to heal the wounds of our hearts. Because you and I were made by God for God, because we were made for communion with God, we are most authentically alive when we are in communion with God, which means that the places of our hearts that might not be in communion with God are only going to be healed whenever we experience a communion with God. Let me give you an example. And again, as I share examples this week, I know that the examples may touch your concrete human experience, and if it does, just know that that's completely coincidental, not telling stories about anybody as we share this conversation. But say you have a person who had a traumatic experience when they were a child. Maybe that's when they lost their innocence, or that's when they first met pain. And there's a wall around their heart from that experience of abuse or divorce or separation or whatever it is. And so in that example, there's kind of a wall around their heart where they're not letting anybody in, you might say. In that space, in the memory, in that place of pain, in that secret, we are not living in communion with God. And so yesterday, our conversation was, would you give God permission to come into the memory, to come into the secret, to come inside the wall? Because it's there when we have the courage to let God in and to be in relationship with God, there is where the healing is going to come from. God's presence can heal the fear that we're going to be alone. God's presence can heal the pain of isolation. God's presence can speak to the questions that we've asked our entire life about why that happened, or He can give us the truth of who we are or why it happened, or all the other questions that we ask there. But there's a difference between being fixed, right, which is what a lot of us want when it comes to our secrets, versus being healed, which comes from communion. We can't undo our past. We can't erase history. God never said forgive and forget. That was Hallmark or Hollywood. That wasn't the Bible. The things of our life that have happened to us are a part of our history, and we can never undo them. The healing, rather than being fixed, the healing comes from when we have a new experience of being with God in the very place that we are ashamed, or that we feel unlovable, or that we have worked so hard to keep Him out of. When we let God in there, that's where the healing comes. Healing and communion are the same thing. There is no darkness where there's light, and there is no ultimate pain when God and His love have entered into that place of our heart. So once again today, I simply ask us, can you give God permission to come in to the places of your hearts where there are secrets or pain? Can you give Him permission to speak truth where there are either questions or lies? All you have to do is say, God, I give you permission, and miracles can happen in your life where we realize that God's not afraid. In fact, we're going to be encouraged this weekend, if for those of you who are going to go to Mass this weekend and you listen to the readings from the A cycle, you're going to hear about Lazarus and Jesus raising Lazarus from the tomb, where Jesus is not afraid of what was there. And we're going to unpack that with you at Mass at Christ the Redeemer tomorrow. As you prepare for Mass tomorrow, you actually are in this day asking the Lord to simply be with you. Give him permission. Say, God, I give you permission to come on in. Be not afraid of he who is wanting to be in relationship with you there. And right there, in the place where we need to not be afraid of our secrets, in that place, God bless you.